Hey everyone, it's Bree here. Welcome back to the Destiny channel. Today's message or clip, whatever you want to call it, is called Wow, or otherwise known as the weight of worth, right? So oftentimes in the Bible, there are objects that are described based on what the thing is worth in its weight. So for example, if you read the story of David and Goliath, there's a particular section of scripture that talks about all of this armor that Goliath had on and how it was made in bronze. So it was heavy, it was solid, it was strong, probably impenetrable, right? But they talk about his spear or some object in there and how it weighed the equivalent of like 500 or 600 shekels or 15 pounds. Like that's a heavy spear, right? And you could just imagine it was like dead weight. And so bronze and gold and silver, as you know, back then right now it's being traded, but back then it was used for monetary purposes, among other things like forming weapons, carpentry, for tools, for building, for whatever. But the whole point is that this armor that he had on that was set in bronze carried a weight, and the weight determined its value or its worth. So my question is, what is the weight of your worth? The Lord tells us in the word that we are worth far more than rubies. But what does that mean? Like he gives us a picture of fine, expensive jewelry and jewels and says that we're worth far more, but he didn't specifically say how much in the weight of rubies or shekels and what that could compare to. So my question, Lord, is then how much is far more? Right? So to be honest, I don't think there is a numerical price tag on your value or your worth. For example, I guess I've been in a season in my life where I'm rediscovering my own self-worth, which is why I'm sharing this with you. Remember, you're walking with me through my mess. And I was thinking about how I really see myself versus how I project myself onto others. And I hit this like low place in my soul. It was like this quiet rock bottom place where I'm starting to question, like, why am I feeling this? Where is this coming from? Is something wrong? I don't know. And I really had no words to like put on it. Right. So I had to figure out that the Lord wanted me to operate in my true worth and value. And that even though people tell me nice things and they're always like, you're awesome, Bree, you're pretty, you're this, you're that, or you're ambitious, you're doing what now? Oh man, your plate's full, and all these like really cool things. But I'm like, on the inside, I kind of feel like a bum. Sorry. Like I'm doing these good things, but when I'm not doing those things and when I'm just emotionally challenged in that place, like I don't feel good about myself. Right. And we all have those moments. So don't act like you don't. If you don't, then you need to have your own YouTube channel and be doing amazing things. Right. And encouraging everybody. But the Lord had told me that there are certain things that are in us that only can be worshiped out or worshiped through, because it's so deep. So then I wondered, why am I feeling like this? And then I must not be seeing my own self-worth, because if I did, I'd probably be doing X, Y, and Z, and I'd be traveling or doing all these different things. And so I began to ask the Lord then again, what is my value? What is my worth? And what does this all mean? Now, I don't know if this is the same for you, but for me, I've always associated value and worth with money. I need numbers. I needed to see how much I was worth. So when we talk about value, I'm like, can you put a dollar amount on it, please? Or like when you're talking about worth far more than rubies, can we get like a weight in shekels or something? Like something I can compare this value or this worth to. But the only thing the Lord responded to me with was enough. I was like, I know that's like the motivational message of the century is I am enough. Like everybody's saying I am enough and telling each other, you are enough. You go do this thing or you are enough. And I'm like, I get that, but I don't. I understand the concept of it. And I've been in this groove before where I'm like, I am enough. And I just soared and did all these things, but I still today I'm ending up back in the same place. So there's something I'm still not getting. But God was telling me that you are enough, daughter. Like, and I'm saying this to you daughters and sons and brothers and sisters, is that you are enough. He was telling me that I'm not less than, and I'm also not more than. I'm simply enough. Flaws and all, highs and all, lows and all, in and out, my gray areas, my black and my white, whatever it is, right? I am enough. And that was still even hard for me to understand because there was no numerical value to compare it to. But that's how small I think sometimes. And sometimes we all do that. Okay. I can only really speak for myself. But the Lord is telling me that enough is very much similar to far more than rubies. And I was like, because there is no numerical value to who you are. So he's never going to give me a number, because you can't associate our price tag or our value, our worth with a number. So there may be numerical value to your skill set, your gifts or your talents and things that people pay you for. But those things don't actually define who you are, because your worth is not associated with what you do at all. Right? I had an issue. I'll tell you a story real quick. I had this issue with my finances because I could never define how much I should pay myself. Remember, I'm like numbers. So I'm like, how much should it be? How much should I put in my pocket? What about this? Right? And I knew like having a savings goal, that was good, because I had a number to go to. I had an end game, right? Or end goal to hit. So that was simple. I could always do that. But to pay myself and give myself spending money was always a challenge, because am I worth $50? Am I worth $100? The whole check? Well, I know I'm worth the whole check, but that would be silly, because I got bills to pay. I got rent. I got tuition payments. I got all these things going on, and these other activities coming up, and gas and whatever else. So it just got so confusing for me that I either ended up not giving myself money, which typically that's the case, where I didn't pay myself and just have money in my pocket, or I would splurge and spend too much because I was like, I'm tired of this. And I would have my case of the cases, if you know what I mean, and just go do something that I didn't need to do. And so it became a pattern. But now that I know that I'm enough, I also have to look at what is enough for me. And maybe you're asking that same question. How much is enough for me? Or maybe you're asking questions for yourself in terms of that area of self-value or worth. Okay. But by doing that and understanding and gaining more understanding and revelation about what it means to be enough, it settled me down and helped me to try to figure out that there is a difference between monetary value and the weight of my worth, and they're not on the same scale. And that I needed to start placing my true value on myself and my own self-care, because God is not wasteful, right? He's an abundant God, but he's not a wasteful God, and he's not cheap or stingy. So therefore, he gives us just enough of what we need. So you might be going through a situation. Maybe you're struggling with your self-value, worth, or your finances, or some other issue. Maybe you're dealing with addiction. Maybe you're dealing with strife, or I don't know, you're dealing with something, and it makes you feel like you're not enough, and you're starting to question your value or your worth, and it leads you into depression or isolation, or just feeling like small or little around people and insecure, whatever it is. Or maybe you, like me, have felt this deep, weighty, unnameable thing in your soul, and you're trying to figure out your value and your worth, or what's going on. And maybe your story is similar to that of the widow's oil in the Bible. And if you don't know that story, it's a good story. It's about the prophet Elijah and this woman who she was extremely poor, and she had gone outside to go get some sticks. And she was preparing a last meal for her and her son, because they were going to eat this little cake bread thing they were going to make, and then they were going to starve, and then they were going to die because they had nothing else. But right at the time she went to go pick up these sticks, the prophet Elijah came and showed up and asked her for her last meal, basically, which is kind of bogus, but he didn't do it without a promise. And he promised her that the Lord would provide her with enough flour and oil for her and her son for days to come. So he did not indicate how much flour and oil would be in the jars, rather that there would just be enough. So each time she dipped her hand into the jar or poured the oil, there was provision. There was always enough. And maybe you're wondering if you are enough, or if there's enough room for you, or enough food for you and your family. Okay. What I'm here to tell you is that God will provide, because he made you to be enough. And he loves you so much and wanted me to share this message with you so that you don't give up. This isn't about financial provision or even food provision. This is about your value and your self-worth. You are enough. Trust that the Lord will provide you the weight of your worth, and he will wow you with provision in whatever form that may be. Your oil is not going to run dry. Your anointing will not eclipse and become some shadow. Okay. Whatever someone did to you will not define you, or whatever you let somebody do to you, because that happens too. It doesn't determine your value or your worth. Okay. Or whatever you did to yourself doesn't matter. Remember, your value and your worth is not tied to what you did or do or will do in the future, for your value and your worth was set before time ever began. Your worth was determined and established in heaven by the Father. Therefore, it cannot be diminished. So don't give up. Stay strong and keep trusting that God is enough for you and your situation. Just trust him with it. I promise it'll work out. And that you are enough, that he made you to be enough. So your feelings and emotions don't indicate or determine your value or your worth either. Learn to trust yourself as you're trusting the Lord, that he's given you the good things to do. So just go ahead and do them. You were created in his image. Therefore, you are enough. Be blessed.